Yeah, Jimmy, it might be. We should note, though, that this stock really had been going up like a rocket ship until now. These new numbers are forcing a mini reality check. I say mini because despite the loss of 18% as we speak, we're still talking about a stock that has skyrocketed about 200% so far this year. It spiked in January when Donald Trump ran away with the Iowa caucuses and up again as the company went public. So here's the latest numbers that are concerning investors. Truth Social owner Trump Media lost $58 million last year, and it generated very, very little revenue, just $4.1 million in revenue. Put some context around that figure of revenue. If you look back at what Twitter generated when it went public about a decade ago, in that final year when it went public, $665 million, more than 100 times what Trump Media has been able to rake in. And some of this is not shocking because we know that Truth Social is struggling. I mean, it is shrinking. Monthly active U.S. users on iOS and Android down 51% year over year. It's not just much smaller than Twitter, it's even smaller than Threads. And I think all of this just underscores why there's a lot of warnings out there about this stock, right? One professor told me it's a bubble. Another basically called it a meme stock. So Jim, listen, we're going to see this stock go up and down because its valuation right now is very, very high.
Yeah, what a shocker that this is a meme stock. All right, Matt Egan, you know, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Matt, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Will Trump face any accountability, and will Republican leaders call him out after the former president shared a video on social media that could pose a security risk for President Biden? Here's that horrific video posted by Trump showing the president hogtied in the back of a pickup truck. Over the weekend, Biden and Trump offered distinctly different Easter messages. The president calling for peace, security, and dignity for people around the world. As for Trump, he wished a happy Easter to those he, quote, totally despises in the, quote, failing nation, end quote, that he hopes to lead. He reshared articles suggesting he's a modern day Jesus who is being crucified, and he accused the president of a, quote, years-long assault on the Christian faith. The president, of course, is a devout Catholic. This week, he's pledging to address, quote, Biden's border bloodbath, putting a lot of these in quotes just to make sure you understand this is Trump's rhetoric. This just 11 days after insisting that that rhetoric was exclusively about the economic consequences of a Biden victory. Here with me to discuss Trump's increasingly inflammatory and violent rhetoric is Ruth Ben-Ghiat. She's a professor of history at NYU. She's also the author of multiple books, including Strongmen, Mussolini to the President. Ruth, great to have you on, as always. You know, when we talk about Trump sharing this violent video of the President Biden hogtied in the bed of a pickup truck, you know, we saw the consequences of his words on January 6th. How concerned are you about this kind of stuff sparking some kind of violence? What do you think?
I'm very concerned, and it's, you know, when you work on coups and authoritarian takeovers, you look at this a bit differently. It's not just a joke. The fact it's a life-size image, it's really performing, you know, a work of imagination for Americans, because a sitting president of the United States who's hogtied as though he's some kind of hostage, this implies, shall we say, not a democratic transition of power, but something, a bad end that is happening to the sitting president of the United States. And when it's shared on social media by somebody who already tried to overthrow the government, then of course that is extremely serious and bespeaks a very, you know, an intent to continue to incite violence against anyone who's trying to hold him accountable, but now also the president of the United States.
Right, and typically, I mean, if somebody out there just in the general public were to share an image like this, that they might expect a visit from the United States Secret Service. But now it just seems that this kind of violent imagery, this kind of dangerous political rhetoric has become so commonplace, it makes you wonder what the authorities do with this kind of stuff.
I share those concerns, and, you know, it's very important to strike back at and hold people accountable. And especially someone like Trump, who has a history of this. In 2023, he posted an image of himself, a baseball bat, and the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, who was trying to hold him accountable. And, he doesn't have to explicitly say, please go bash the head of this prosecutor, this member of the judiciary trying to uphold the rule of law. He just posts the images together. And so he's a very skilled propagandist, and he knows what his followers will do with this. But this is not isolated. It's not just him. The Kansas GOP recently held a fundraiser and invited donors as a reward for giving money to be able to bash and assault an effigy of Biden with sticks. And, the official party distanced itself, but it still happened, and it had lots of takers. So there's been this attempt to delegitimize and discredit and incite violence against judges, their families, but now we're seeing it arrive up to the sitting president of the United States.
And Ruth, Trump's campaign claimed that those bloodbath comments that we were discussing a couple of weeks ago were exclusive to the economy. Now he's using the term to talk about the southern border. What was your reaction to that when he brought up this quote unquote border bloodbath? There's that term again, bloodbath.
Because with propaganda, it's not just about getting somebody to believe a lie, a specific lie, like who won the 2020 election. It's really about creating associations and inciting emotions in people. So Trump knows very well, he's very skilled at this, that when he talks about the bloodbath that will overcome the whole country, he wasn't only talking about the auto industry. It's not only about the border. It's about instilling a kind of existential fear in people. And that's how you get them to either commit violence on your behalf, which happened on January 6th, when he said, if you don't fight like hell, you won't have a country anymore. So, or they'll look away when violence is committed by others. And so Trump is slowly and relentlessly kind of shaping an emotional climate, a psychological climate that is needed for autocracy.
And Ruth, the other thing that's popped up in the last couple of days, Trump going after Judge Merchan's daughter by name on Truth Social. Of course, he's the judge overseeing the Alvin Bragg case that you just mentioned a few moments ago. What does this mean for the judicial system when this repeatedly happens and there aren't any consequences for Trump? He's been admonished, by judges not to cross the line rhetorically in certain ways. There have been limited gag orders put in place here and there. Nothing really does the trick.
Yeah, and this is a huge mistake because this is exactly what authoritarians do. They go after prosecutors, lawyers, judges, anybody who can try and hold them accountable, and they go after their families. This is one of the regular things been happening since Mussolini. Even if people go into exile, if a regime takes hold, they go after your family who might be left in the country. So what Trump did here was call the judge's daughter a rabid Trump hater. Though that's a phrase which he knows is going to anger his opponents who are very loyal to him. And thus he's doing things deliberately to create a climate of hostility that could result in physical violence. He knows exactly what he's doing.
All right, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, thanks as always for coming on. I'm sure we'll be having this conversation again and again, but as always, we appreciate the insights.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
So, come on, what is it now?